Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dwayne with Bronco Wild Outdoors, and we're actually having some technical difficulties. Please stand by. Um, Working out, man. I just don't know what is up today. I tell you what we're going to do. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me? Can anyone hear me? Hello, hello. We're going to have to log off. I think. I don't know if you can see me or not. I don't know. I don't know. Man, this is crazy. So here we go. I found the problem. I have found the problem. Can you see me now? So let me start over because I don't know what you saw or what you heard. We had audio and visual problems when I logged on to StreamYard today. I kept getting a bunch of stuff going on and I was trying to go through tech support. Anyway, we're here. So now you can see me and hear me. And so that's a great thing. And as you saw, we have our Bronco. That was something that I put up here on the screen. There's a side shot of my Area 51 2021 Badlands, and you know the rest. So in I think in 22 I was actually going to do this video, and I was going through Instagram and I saw a post where someone was talking about this 22 allocation thing, and I went to Bronco 6G and I saw the thing from Granger there and I read it over, and it's confirmed what I was going to talk about based on a conversation I had with the dealer this week. Now, I mean, not to get anybody unnerved or anything, but I believe for a fact, there's a lot of dealers out there that sold Broncos so far for MSRP. And let's start at the very beginning of what rubbed a lot of people wrong is that when you reserved with a dealer and then you turned your order or your reservation into an order, and the conversations were maybe assumed or implied that you were paying MSRP, or maybe they even said you were paying MSRP. And then when the Bronco comes in, it's really the dealer's Bronco. And now the rules change, the game changes, right? The goalpost gets moved. Now it's 10,000 over MSRP or whatever the number was. And so, you've seen those, you've heard those horror stories everywhere. And then you've also heard the great stories about, well, people like me. We got to deal with a great dealer who told us in the very beginning what to expect, and that exact thing and maybe a little extra happened by the time the deal was done. So, but the problem is, even with the dealers that sold at MSRP, I think they're running into some headwinds with just doing business, right? The business of selling vehicles, forget a Bronco or whatever it is. And of course, certain vehicles are more sought after, like the Bronco is a highly anticipated and vehicle, and everybody wants to get their hands on them. But um, the um, the deal is this: on the horizon, the economics, the supply chain, the environment that we're in, I do not see getting any better anytime soon. Now, all manufacturers are doing the best they can. They're taking a kind of rotten situation, and I think they're working it as good as they can. And Altering Nation, David, thank you for that. I appreciate that. And Chuck, thank you, telling me we're on, and Pavement Ends Now, thumbs up, and we're here. Um, when you have technical difficulties, it just means you're human, right? And you're using technology, so hopefully everything's working. But I see that it's not like manufacturers and ultimately dealers are going to be moving a lot of product. I know I'm not in the automotive business, but I'm a service expert, I guess you want to say. I've created some pretty awesome service companies, but I've done it through trial and error. And if I was advising a car dealer, the back of the house, the repair side of the business should be it's going to be their financial leader for the next year or two, or maybe even longer. The average car, the age of the average car is getting older and older and older. There's more older units on the street, and to kind of circle back really quick, I know you hear that a lot nowadays. To go back to what I was saying is that car companies are having to really build out their service side. At the same time, it's hard to find good service techs and mechanics. I call them service techs, mechanics. But at the same time, the allocations are being squeezed, the products squeezed. We have supply chain issues. We have stuff sitting in container ships offshore. It's just a mess. You know this. I don't need to reiterate it. But I guess what I'm looking at is manufacturers have done the best they can. And I think dealers have done a remarkable job. And some of them probably not, because I don't like all the dealers out there. However, I had a very candid conversation with someone this week, and even though dealers that sold at MSRP and were glad to do so are going to have a different conversation with potentially new reservation holders or new order holders. I guess the way it's going to be done is you contact your dealer, and there's going to be more of the dealer involved. I think you're going to see more paying over MSRP. That's just my prediction. I'm wrong. Just ask my wife a lot. But that's just my prediction. You're not going to see so many dealers at MSRP. And you say, well, I'll just change my order to them. Well, that's where this article from Granger came in. Is like, well, now allocations, that whole algorithm, or that process, I should say, is being really tweaked, and it's being heavily modified. Yeah, 2.7 has been out for a long time. So yeah. So sorry, I'm just diving into the comments. I'm gonna let you guys have your own conversation. But I'm just looking at a lot of people are going to be, I think the turmoil is going to continue for a short time in 22, and then hopefully things will start to get worked out. But the allocations that dealers are getting, the MSRP, whether you're paying that or you're paying more, I think you're going to pay more on average from other dealers. And I'm just talking MSRP. I think you're going to pay more. Based on the conversation I had this week, I see it coming with this particular group. And hey, it kind of stinks. So hopefully one of the most anticipated vehicles ever will be, I think we'll have an easier production time in 22. The stuff with the tops really threw a wrench in it. But, so far, all indications are that's fine. And now it's back to some supply chain issues, how many Broncos can physically be built. And so, it's just, anyway, that's just what I see happening. Now, I'm grateful for a couple of reasons. One is I received my Bronco. I was a first day reservation holder, and, the story I went through, waited. And finally, when I found out, and all I really needed was clear information, when the Ford rep said on the live stream on the Bronco Nation that if you didn't have a VIN and you had a hardtop, you were a 22. So I immediately switched to a soft top. Literally 8 days later, received a build date. 3 weeks later, my Bronco was built, and then bingo. I think it was 2 more weeks after that. We got here, and the Bronco got here. It got off the train. It actually rode on a train for a while, and so getting my Bronco has been one of the best. And so I can tell you, if you haven't received your Bronco yet, and especially if you haven't driven one, a lot of people you've reserved one and actually placed an order and haven't even driven one, maybe sat in one at a dealer. And then a lot of people have been to the different events where you could ride around a parking lot, or in Townsend, Tennessee, we got to ride with professional drivers out on the trail. And if you've had an opportunity to do Bronco off rodeo, that's where you really know, or you have a friend with a Bronco, that's where you really know what this thing is capable of. So it's worth it, but it's frustrating at the exact same time. So for all the manufacturers out there doing what they can, I think there's going to be some modifying of the process this year. I think it's more of a adapt as you go type thing. It's not that 24-month plan, and I think a lot of people are just having to deal with what's going on. Let me go through some of the comments here. Where's Bronco? Southeastern Virginia. So we're southeastern Virginia, Chesapeake area to be exact. And so we're all over here. We're actually one of our biggest playgrounds closest to us will be the Outer Banks. And then next to that is anywhere in the Shenandoah Valley. So western part of Virginia, Afton, Luray, down to Roanoke. I was actually heading to Roanoke today, but I don't know what part of the country you guys are in, but it's raining here in Chesapeake, and it's just kind of one of those miserable days. Virginia Beach, cool. Hey, you're just that way, literally from me. Yeah, and yeah, dank and cool in Vancouver. Yeah, it's kind. Well, it's not cool here. It's just crappy weather. If I didn't have this behind me, I'd open the window and let you see the gloom and doom. So, but we didn't go out today. Didn't have anything really big planned, and I just want to catch up and say what's going on with everybody and what's the news. And I think I've talked to a few of you offline, maybe waiting on your build date or waiting on the Bronco. And unfortunately, build date keeps getting pushed back. I know for some people. You live in a fifth wheel KOA. Good to meet. Yeah, you too, Mark. Is Sandbridge by chance? I mean, I don't want to give your address, but actually, no. We have a friend. My son is camping, and they go camping with friends. They happen to be in Gloucester today camping. That's why the seat's empty right here. He kind of keeps me straight, keeps me on my toes, so he's not here. But well, I've been there. I've actually been there with my son's friends that go camping, and he's with one of his little buddies this weekend. So I'm here. I'm actually home alone. My wife's out, and say, what? I figured I could get in all kinds of trouble live streaming with no one here to correct me. But if you saw my video, if you go here on our channel, I just posted a video of our table, and I appreciate David's comments. What I mentioned to him offline the other day that hey, I was getting this table installed, and the complaints of rattling. So man, I started checking this out, and sure enough, there's been complaints about this. Well, I was lucky. If you watch the video that I posted this afternoon, the mechanic or service tech that did my install, first of all, I said in the video, when you talk to someone, they don't try to prove to you that they're the smartest person in the room or they know what they're doing. Their actions prove it, how they talk, the confidence. Well, I felt good when I was talking to this guy. He knew about the length of the bolt issues in the past. He also knew about the noise, and so he had a kind of a fix for a couple of those things. And so anyway, the fold down, the rear swing gate fold down table is installed, and I mean, I actually love it. I think it's cool. Zero noise. And welcome to live streaming. Hey, look, Kat. Told you I'm home alone. I can get all kinds of trouble, but you can't, man, you can't get in the screen here. So I think I've told a couple of you in the past, I was photo bombed by my cat here in the past. So, but yeah, so the whole Bronco thing is pretty awesome. Let me get my cat here in the chair. This is crazy. But that's my buddy here, by the way. So you take Gavin's spot. I'll mic you up. But yeah, the whole Bronco community, how everything's coming together. And of course, if you get on some of the forums, you've got the back and the forth. And, so I try to avoid all that and just look at the positive. But, for those of you who haven't received your Bronco, I feel bad for you. I know exactly, what you felt like. Like there was a little bit of guilt the day I took it. I said, there's just a lot of people out there. But hey, after I got behind the wheel and took off, it was a memory here. So, yeah, Yeah, that snake. You like that, Mark? So sorry, I'm bouncing back and forth. The snake video that I had, we were here in Suffolk, and there was a snake just cruising across the road. So you got to watch out for stuff like that. And that was a lesson for me. I started learning on this tread lightly. You think about off-roading, you think about just blazing through the woods, but there's actually a way to do it. So like all this is new to me, right? But it's been pretty cool. But the Bronco getting let me go back to that. Getting the table, the fold down table installed was a really good. It was a good addition. I'm looking at some other things. I started looking at the storage bin that bolts down in the back, it was interesting that the original tie downs that are in the back of your Bronco, they unbolt, and then this storage bin will actually bolt down to those original holes. And we're just going to be photobombed by a cat here. That's just the way it is. So, um, sorry guys, this is crazy. Look, I love the animals. This cat here is a family member, so we're just let her swat her tail around and all that crazy stuff. But anyway, the whole Bronco thing's been cool, the accessories and things like that. But let me get focused back on what I was talking about. Man, I look like somebody that speaks publicly a lot here. Uh, the storage bin in the back, I like the fact that the lassos will actually go. When I say lassos, they're tie downs, but they have the lasso designs. They'll actually tie down to the top of this bin. The question that I have, and I haven't researched it yet, trust me, is if I install that, I lose height in the back. Can I still store my doors in the back? Will they still fit, or is it gonna hit somewhere on the top? So that's what I really don't know. Um, but anyway, so we're just going through this accessory stuff, trying to figure out what we want. I'd like a light bar on the top. I wanted the one that comes on the Ford accessories, but right now that's MIA. So I'm kind of waiting to see when that pops back up. The 4-inch ditch lights, I call them, the ones that mount on the mirror, they're in stock. You can get those, a couple $100. But I'm kind of holding off because I don't want one brand of ditch lights and another brand of a bar light. So there's just a lot of stuff that I got to work through. And I think that part of this is that if you don't wheel a lot, if you don't off-road, if you haven't been doing this for a while, a lot of it's a learning curve. I'm watching from a distance what other people are doing in their Bronco. And at the same time, I don't want to copy everything they're doing. I do respect someone that's been doing it for a long time and they like a certain brand, and there's a reason why they like it. So as far as the accessories and what we're putting on the Bronco, I'm taking my time with it all. So, but I really, I don't want to put something on there that's in the way and doesn't work. But the table in the back is right up our alley. The next thing may be that bin, being that I can't get my light bar right now. So the next thing may be that storage bin in the back, and it does add some security. And of course, this is not my daily driver. I just sitting in the garage right here below us today. But it will get dirty. It will get muddy. It's not a mall crawler. But right now, I'm just trying to get some of that footage of the parts of the Bronco that'll never be this clean again. And so we're working on that. Plus, I want to get to about 1,000 miles on it. And then once we get to 1,000 miles, I'll do an oil change to it, and I guess we'll go from there. And weather permitting, I'll be in the Outer Banks somewhere. In the Outer Banks, I don't exactly know. Certain times of the year, there's only certain places you can go, and then later in the year, like where we're at now, it opens up in other places. So closer to Hatteras and stuff. So who knows where we'll go, and we definitely want to go with someone down there. So we're either going to hook up with someone down there or a couple of the my Jeep friends up here, try to get them to go down there with us. And I tell you, I saw something yesterday, and I don't have a dash cam or whatever. And I kind of even don't, well, I didn't want to bring it up, but I'll say it. I felt horrible for someone. The Bronco attention that you get is real, right? I mean, when you're driving this thing down the road, I can't tell you how many people just stare, look, take pictures, say something to you at the light, like, hey, nice wheels, nice ride. Hey, I have one guy say, if you regret it, I'll buy it. You have a lot of that. Yesterday, I drove it back from the dealership from getting the fold down table on, and there was stop traffic in the other direction at a light. Their light turned green. Car started to move, but then slowed up. There was a person in a Jeep, and they were looking at me pretty hard, looking at the Bronco pretty hard, and they weren't looking where they were going, and they ran in the back of somebody, and man, it broke my heart. It was a beautiful blue Jeep. So, hey folks, the cat's here. Hey, kitty cat, look, I've got a camera here. Look at this, man. This is nuts, isn't it? This is live streaming at its best. But I felt horrible about that. But that's a lesson, there's a lot of people that stare at these Broncos, and you might think, well, it's presumptuous of someone to think that, but I mean, it is real, when you're out driving this thing, and a lot of, it's interesting that a lot of the Jeep drivers out there, are waving to you, a couple of them, I don't think waved. I think it was something else, but most of the people driving the Jeeps and stuff, they're like, because, it's part of that off-road community. I think someone said today on Instagram, they said, hey, this is a community that people get together, and I'm learning it, right? And there's the same thing with cars, hot rods. I come from the hot rod world. I have an old Mustang, and you go these car shows and racetracks and stuff like that, and you sort of you get that, but it's different. When I went to Townsend, Tennessee, the crowd there was a little bit different. It's pretty awesome. So anyway, it's just, it's not as crazy as the cat walking across the live stream here, but hey, it is what it is. So but yeah, Mark, you were saying the video with the snake, it had a real nice area. So that is a place called Lone Star Lakes in Suffolk, where I did the video with the snake going across the road. It's a really cool park. A lot of little individual lakes, but they're all overfished. So the fish there are just small. They're, practice catching fish, but you're not going to catch anything there worth keeping. And I think most people throw stuff back. And Michael, I just saw your comment here. My Big Ben says my build week in November 1st in the order begin. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And see, that's another thing I think that's got some people rubbed wrong, is that there's reservation holders from a lot earlier in the year, and then some people reserve later and then get a build. But it's all about the trim. It's about what you ordered. Obviously, I think Ford's pushing out the Big Bens. Nice trim, but Ford is really pushing those out because of parts availability, I guess. And it's the only thing I can think of. Now, the Badlands, while it's back, obviously for edition, limited number to begin with, and then some of those have had issues. So, yeah, as far as the allocations and stuff like that, and build dates and reservation, I don't know. I'm looking at payments now. November 1st is your date. I really hope it sticks to that. Now, at some point, they can't get pushed back anymore because we're running out of days in the year, the build date. So I was really nervous, to be quite honest with you, because I felt like if I didn't get my build date when I did, that, potentially, because I kept holding out every week, every Thursday, I kept looking. I just knew it was going to be that Thursday. Of course, it wasn't. So, but anyway, so what's anyone have just received a Bronco? I mean, have you taken delivery of your Bronco in the last week or two, or let's say last month, and what do you think about it? I know that we really, really like, I mean, I think my Bronco is one of those things where, I kind of knew what to expect from being in Townsend, Tennessee, and in Texas with Bronco off rodeo, but it was always that weird terrain. In Tennessee, there was a short stretch between the event area and the trails. So you got to drive on the road, and you actually didn't get to drive. The driver drove, right? Unless it was a sport. But you got the feel for it, right? How, it felt good. But driving it on the road is something that's a little bit different. And you get the acceleration, the braking, how it just generally feels in your hand. And so the Bronco is very responsive, very comfortable. One of the things I've noticed is that there's not a lot of bouncing or wandering across the road. It tracks very well. It's predictable. For a new vehicle, sometimes you have to get used to it. I know my F-250 with the solid front axle and the heavy duty suspension, you hit some of the roads here in Virginia, and you can see a bump head, and you're automatically two hands on the wheel because you're going to get some wheel hop going. You're going to bounce across the lane, in your lane. So the one thing about the Bronco is it's very predictable, right? Driving it down the road is tracking well, accelerates good, brakes good. And one of the biggest things is the braking on it as well. So I'm really impressed with it on the road. I was really impressed already with it off road, and so it is what it is. So anyway, looking forward to everyone like getting your Bronco. I can't wait. I want to hear the stories. But let's go back through some of the comments here. I saw someone in here talking about the 2.7. Yep. Mark, let's cut to the chase. Next year, Wrangler or Bronco for me. Um, Let me tell you, I have a 2.7 10 speed, right? Automatic. So it's 10 speed transmission, 2.7, and I like it. One of the reasons why I really like the 2.7 over the 2.3, and they're both really good engines. The torque range on the 2.7 is closer to real world RPM range in off roading. Unless you're doing Baja stuff, I think peak torque on a 2.7 is around 3,000 RPMs, whereas a 2.7 is closer to the high threes. And so depends on where you're going. And like I said, they're both good engines. I'm not knocking 2.3 at all. I mean that's actually been one of the most reliable engines I think ever. But the 2.7 has a good acceleration. I like it. It runs good. I tell you what I did. The dealer was nice enough to let me use the mannequin, the Big Ben mannequin that I did a review here on my channel a few months ago. Say a few months ago, maybe June. Um, and so it's been, let's face it, a mannequin probably doesn't get driven like your personal vehicle will. So they had close to 2,000 miles on it, which is not a lot at all. I get it. However, it still ran great. No vibration, the engine, nothing that, sometimes when people are constantly, stepping like a rental car, you've been in a rental car and they get run ragged, cranked up and gas and go, cold engine, nobody's letting anything warm up and accelerating hard, using gas from wherever they can get it, that type thing. So sometimes they start to get a little bit of a rough idle initially. Well, the 2.7 that I drove in the mannequin was great. I mean, there was no issues whatsoever. So it was nice to see, but it's only 2,000 miles. I mean, we're talking nothing really over the life of the vehicle. I get it, but I think that the 2.7 is. I'm thinking it's going to be a good long-term reliable engine, and with the automatic. The one thing about the automatic, I will tell you on the street, it takes a little bit of getting used to because it seems to hunt for the right gear at low RPMs and low speed. So there's a little bit of shifting going on. Now, if you're accelerating, getting up to a certain speed, it's shifting pretty well, and it's controlled. I guess I won't say controlled, it's in sequence. When you are in stop and go traffic, sometimes you feel it shifting multiple times and you haven't changed speed. So there's a little bit of that going on. So, but I think because it's a 10 speed and it's shifting so fast, and in the scheme of things, you're going through a lot of gears in a short period of time. It depends on your top speed. I mean, if you get up to 70 miles an hour, you go from 0 to 70, you're going to shift pretty steadily. But when you're going from 0 to 25, back to 15, back to 35, like you are in stop and go traffic, heavy stoplight situations, you feel a lot of shifting going on. But it's not a bad thing, right? It's just something I've noticed that's a little bit different. I think if I really don't have any complaints. I mean, that's the thing about it. I'm so much enjoying the Bronco that I can't tell you a handful of things I don't like about it. Now I haven't driven it enough. I don't even have 800 miles on mine yet, so I need to drive it a little bit more. I can't do a proper review just in a 400 miles. I think I have 500 miles on it to be exact. So when you get 1,000 miles, you can start to get that feel behind the wheel, and you start to how it feels. So we'll see what it looks like. But if anyone around watching right now, if as long as we're live, if you've driven a Bronco recently, or maybe just for the first time, tell me what you think about it. If you still have one ordered, obviously you like it. But we're gonna wrap this up in just a second. I do want to tell you though that when we go back to the how I started today's live stream before the cat photo bombed me, the MSRP situation, I think there's going to be less builders or less, let's say builders, truck, vehicle builders, or less manufacturers. I think manufacturers in a whole are going to do the best they can, obviously, but dealers are going to have to adjust MSRP, and they're going to have to get more for the vehicles because it's not like the floodgate of vehicles are opening. Now, I am seeing more new vehicles on transit on the interstate in our area. That's by any means scientific data. It's just noticing every day I'm seeing more trucks carrying more new brands of vehicles. There was a lot of new Jeeps that passed yesterday. Two truckloads of Jeeps passed on the interstate here in southeastern Virginia, and there's a few transport trucks loaded with GM trucks. I saw one truck carrying Fords. And it was actually a full size Bronco on that one. Uh, I mean, they're cutting loose, but is it enough right now? There's so many vehicles. I mean, so many people have vehicles that should have been replaced already or would have normally replaced them. We've got that pent up demand. So I really don't know exactly where the automotive market's going, but I can tell you there's going to be a lot less dealers selling at MSRP. That's just my opinion. And the ones that aren't, they're going to burn through their allocations pretty quickly. And so we'll see if we get our second one. We do have a second reservation. We're going to see if that order goes through. I think October 13th, the order bank actually opens, the build and price, and we'll be able to go through that. We'll see what happens. So, hey, I'm out. I hope everyone has a great day. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, whatever part of the country or world that you're in. And if you have a cat, watch out. They will photo bomb you in a minute, video bomb you in a minute. But hey, you guys have a great day. I appreciate you joining me, and we'll talk soon. See ya.